What's going on, guys? Back with another video, and I am very happy to be working on the 27 F150 today. I've been working on the tracker for a while. I haven't uploaded any videos. I've not managed to get anything completed. Once I get really close to getting something done, something comes up and I need a new part, or I need to figure out a way to make something work. So this thing has been a bit of a nightmare, and I've been Frankensteining together a lot of different things to make it work. So it makes me very happy to be able to come work on the new F150 and doing a bolt-on mod. Everything should have come complete with everything that I need. We are working under the hood today, and what we are going to be installing is a new S&B Cold Air intake. So let's go ahead, open this box. And see what we're working with. Got some clamps, some rubber, gaskets, and all kinds of stuff. I'm guessing this is the air filter in this box. And the main box. Alright, so that's everything that's going into the truck, and everything that's coming out of the truck is this stock air box, this stock intake. I don't even want to call it a hose, but yeah, I am going with another enclosed air filter. I didn't want to do an open filter because to me that doesn't make a lot of sense. I know a lot of them, they do make a lot that actually will seal with the hood of the car, but to me, I think keeping it all enclosed is still better overall. It's still going to increase the airflow. You know, you have a lot more surface area with that filter than you do with this flat filter, and this intake pipe is going to be a lot less restrictive than this one, but it also still keeps some of the heat out of there. And Ford did actually do a pretty good job with the intake here, so looks like they're, you know, keeping that, just kind of streamlining it a bit, putting some more room, air space in the air box, and providing more surface area for that filter, and then opening this up a bit so there's going to be more airflow. Before I start tearing everything apart, let's just see what things sound like up here. Alright, so I don't know if you could hear anything at all other than the exhaust on this thing when I start it, but you know, pretty much there's no intake noise, don't hear anything coming from the intake with the stock, which is, you know, their goal. They don't want to make it a loud noise, so they do have to compromise some on efficiency for noise. So hopefully we get rid of some of those restrictions, like these air baffles that are there just to make things quieter and increase the airflow a little bit, and go from there. The first thing, I'm going to disconnect the battery. The reason you want to do that, you want to disconnect the battery before you do it. Then once everything's installed, reconnect the battery and then let it idle to kind of help reset the computer a little bit so it can help relearn. computer doesn't necessarily try to remap things with the new airflow, so you don't really notice as much of a difference. But you know, you want to reset things with the computer, then turn everything back on and kind of let it relearn with the new airflow, and that's supposed to help a little bit more as well. So let's go ahead and get this thing ripped out. So this is definitely one disadvantage of having the truck lifted a little bit. So it's harder to work in the engine. I don't have like topside creep or anything. I may need to grab a step stool or something just to make it a little easier to work in there. So I'll be back in just a second. Got that loosened up. This should just pop off. Make sure that's pulled off of there. Then we can come around and clip these. And there's two hoses on the back. Now this should just come right out. As you can tell, the comparison between this with the airflow and this is going to be significantly different. So that should be a good thing. The next we just have to our air filter is getting pretty dirty, so we can get rid of that and just need to get rid of this box, which I believe is just this bolt here. Alright, so we do need to save this bolt. We will be reusing that. I just need to pull these clips up here. I just need to pull these clips up here. Not sure if we need these clips again or not, so I'm going to save them. And that should move everything to where it just pops out. Here's what the new one is going to look like when it's installed, put together. As you can see, that thing is huge. It's got large inlet for air, it's got a huge volume for air, and a much larger tube, I guess you would. Much larger intake tube coming down to carry more air compared to this, which has these different little valleys and other things around it to help keep things quiet, keep things flexible, move it. So that's why you have that there, so it's flexible. However, that does cause disturbance in the airflow, as does everything else. So compared to the two, this thing is massive. And then if you look at the filters themselves, this is the stock one, which gives you that much area of air to flow through, where this gives you a much larger area of air flow. I did go with the dry filter one, just because I don't like messing around with the oiled ones. The oiled ones can actually void a warranty if they're oiled wrong, and if you can't prove that it was oiled correctly. I've seen some shops where they will void your warranty with the oiled one, saying, oh, you oiled it wrong, that got oil into the intake and that's what's causing your problems. Where with the dry filter, you don't have to worry about that. If it gets dirty, just change it out. Yeah, it's a little more expensive over time, but that extra peace of mind I think is worth it. So I just go with the dry filter. Don't have to worry about it. And if you've ever tried cleaning and oiling a filter anyway, it's just much easier just to swap out with the dry one and continue on with your day without having to mess around with it. So that's why I do that. That's why I chose the dry filter over the oiled one. This is where we removed that bolt that I knew we had to save, but apparently we need to save this grommet as well and reuse that. So just gonna pull. So it's just got this metal insert, and then that pulls out. And we want to take this rubber grommet and install it here. Install that there and take that metal insert that we had and push it back through. So that's good. Now we can get rid of that completely. Next, we want to come around to this side, and we're going to put this seal on here. So just to make sure that this tab is at the bottom. So then we have a clamp that's going to go on there. Alright, and so there is actually a little groove in here that the band fits in perfectly. Then wants us to tighten that up. One thing that's nice too is they actually include installation instructions with step-by-step pictures, which are pretty easy to follow if you get stuck anywhere. I mean, it is pretty straightforward, but it's always good to double check, so I definitely do appreciate some good instructions, especially after working on that thing with no instructions or no real idea of what I'm doing, since there are no instructions and I'm Frankensteining things. But yeah, let me set you down while I get this tightened up. Got the clamp tightened, got this rubber piece on, and this does get connected with these little pieces. It's just these two locking mechanisms. One goes on the bottom, one comes in from the top, and they meet up, and when you push them together, they lock together. So there's 4 spaces for them. I am going to need both hands for that, so let me sit you down. Alright, so now we are done with prepping that piece. Everything is on it that should be on it. We need this piece now, and we just need to install these 2 hose adapters, which were supplied. And these are aluminum, so don't want to over tighten them. Just get them snug is good enough. Aluminum will strip out fairly easy. You definitely don't want to over tighten these. A hand tight should actually be good. I mean, if you want to be safe, you could do like an extra quarter turn after you get a hand tight, but after that, I wouldn't tighten any more than that. So yeah, now I think we are ready to start putting this into the truck. Our air box. You do have these 2 rubber grommets down here, and these 2 posts that go right into them. That should go right into them. There we go. And then this is where we put the rubber grommet, and we took that bolt out, and that should mount up to right there. This should mount up to right there. Yes, this takes up a bit more space under the hood, than the stock box. So if that is something you're concerned about, then this may not be the intake for you. Grab that bolt, reach through, and it's just going to, let me get an extension and get that tightened in. Alright, now that we've got the air box installed, we are going to come down here to the throttle body. Oh, that's pretty and nice and clean looking compared to the other vehicles. Oops. Alright, so we need to make sure we have one clamp on there. The back one, I'll go ahead and finger tight. This front one, I'm going to leave loose. There we go. That slid in. So we got that slid in, and then this slid in, so now we can tighten down these clamps. Reinstall our connectors, and get everything tightened in. Well, let me go ahead and get the wipe down the WD-40 I sprayed in there, and then get the filter in there. Got the filter in, connected here, so I need to tighten this clamp, those two clamps down there, and reinstall or install the cover plastic here, and just tie up any loose ends, and we are done already. Alright, so got everything tightened up. Last thing is this cover, and need to remove the protective cover. And I've already got handprints all over it, but before I clean it up, we do have this rubber seal. It's supposed to go all the way around it. I think we have a little bit extra, so just cut that off. Alright, so last thing is some screws and washers. Get them in there, and let's push these down. I think that's safe to assume that that's good now. So let me put these screws and washers in. Reconnect negative battery terminal. Alright, well, I gotta let that idle for about 10 minutes, and I have some errands to run. Tomorrow is my wife's birthday, so, you know, typical fashion, waiting until the last minute. So I do have to run out, take care of some stuff for that. After I let this idle, I have to say, from all the mods that I've done to the truck, that's probably one of the easiest ones. It just, everything fits so nicely and perfectly together. I'm very impressed with that. So run around, drive around once I let this idle a bit and see how things feel, see if I notice any difference. I don't expect a huge difference, but you know, as part of the overall, do the intake, do the exhaust, eventually redo the exhaust manifolds and cats, because that's the only thing left in that whole air system really that hasn't been touched yet. So maybe one of these days eventually get around to doing that, and then but I don't want to do that until I'm ready to tune it, which I'm not quite ready to do yet. So just the cold air intake and catback exhaust for now is good. I do need to get it cleaned up. I'm actually going to be entering my first car/truck show with the truck. Not sure what to expect. I don't know what the competition's like, but it's going to be a small local event. It's for a charity, so you know, it's $10 to enter. I figure, you know, what's the worst that could happen? You know, I'm out $10, but I get to hang out with other car and truck enthusiasts. So it should be for a good day. I'll bring you guys along for that to see how things go. Check out some of the other cars and trucks that are on display there. And I will continue working on this pig. It's coming along. I don't even want to get into that thing right now. I have quite a few videos that I've been working on with it that just are on hold because I cannot get the things complete. But we'll talk about that in those videos. So I think that's it for this one. I appreciate you watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Give me a subscription if you haven't yet. And I will see you in the next video.